What is up, guys? Wraec is here with a new video, and today with a new year 2026. I hope everybody had a great start into this new year, and well, I have to say I certainly had, and what else would be better than to start off with a new Isle Heroes video right now. And of course we have something very interesting that I kind of got in the last year, so we kind of have to take a step back into 2025, get this video topic, bring it over, and it's of course Fairy Queen Vesa. We did the review about the Wukong treasures, but I never really showed the Fairy Queen Vesa ones, and we had them. We do have the Fairy Queen Vesa treasures. Interesting about this was Wukong got treasures, got really strong. Wukong is now pretty crazy, honestly. He was crazy before, he's now a little bit crazier even. And at the same time, we got the Weaponry of Valor 1, which was for Fairy Queen Vesa, and it was kind of more seen as side loot, you could say. Everybody going for the Wukong treasures, but you got the Fairy Queen Vesa treasures and you couldn't really avoid them. Because it was like the first 5,000 VIP XP guaranteed gave you the Vesa set, then there was the Wukong set again, then the Vesa set again, so you guaranteed got them. And the question now is, are they any good? Do they really change the position of Fairy Queen Vesa in the meta? And we want to kind of look at two things, a boss fight and a PvP fight, which will be very interesting. The main components of this are really mostly in the pink treasure. Because this set, after releasing active skill for every one layer of Newborn Radiance, and for the people that are not vividly aware of the abilities of Vesa, Newborn Radiance is essentially a skill effect she gives herself, and it makes her ult hit one more time. And this is what she stacks up for her ult to really become very viable actually against bosses. She used to be one of the best damage dealers in Star Expedition next to LFA. That was a competition back then. It's no longer, but this ability mainly made that. So she can have multiple of those stacks, thereby also having multiple opportunities to do the second part of this effect. Remove 50% chance to remove one debuff from all allies and a 50% chance to inflict silence, gag, or on one random enemy for 2 rounds. Initial kind of evaluation of those skills. The second part seems good on paper. Really isn't. It may be for PvE in a situation where the enemies have a lot of life and you can see them. Okay. For PvP, I don't think we really get enough stacks for that to really matter. So I don't think it's going to be very important for that. It's only one random enemy as well. In my testing, I haven't even seen this be applied. So we're not going to focus on that. The one random debuff that we remove, that is very interesting. And let's try that out. So what we're going to do is we are going to go into the Stellar Challenge, because this is optimal for us. There are a ton of debuffs that we can remove, and of course we can use Vesa for this. I used the Destiny rank 15 or Destiny rank 5 Vesa, because the last level that we have in here, this one, it includes a very similar effect to what we have in the pink treasure. It removes one debuff from all allies, and I wanted to actually give us the opportunity to see what the pink treasure really does, and completely separate from this one. This effect, by the way, rather interesting. Big debuff removal. We get a shield and we get a 30% attack buff. That is really the interesting part. But overall, and that has to be said at this point, Vesa got probably one of the weakest Destiny transition skills out there. It barely saw any use, and as a 12-layer skill, which is also kind of bad. For a healer, I would honestly have loved to see a different condition, like her being hit, for example, for triggering this effect and then generating some sort of heal and shield effect. But then again, and that is kind of something that we're going to see in a second as well, that is kind of what we already got in HHA. So, yeah, kind of a problem there. I had to make her faster than LFA, because if you remove the debuffs, of course, after attacks and then they get reapplied, that kind of sucks. It's 2,942 with the max soul power I can put on this copy. I had to remove like 4,900 soul power for there to be just like a marginal difference in the speed. I gave her the speed Destiny transition, so I hope that is enough. We're going to see this in a second. Yeah, a bit complicated. Is kind of tough if you have like an X tier LFA to have a Vesa faster. I remember we had the SSS tier Vesa, which was sacrificed, I think, to make either the LFA or the IHP. I really want that back, if I'm honest. Thought a few times about it already, that I want that back. So, what will be the interesting part? Interesting part is certainly not on turn 1. That is not the part that we are looking for. LFA just super fast, okay. I hope we outspeed at least from turn 3 on. We see all those debuffs applying there. And ideally, what we would want to see is Vesa attacks, all of that stuff goes away. That really would be ideal. And on turn 1, of course, the chance is not that great because we don't really have a lot of stacks of Newborn Radiance. The later the turn, the more removal we should in theory get. Of course, not with the basic attack. That would require us to do an active skill. Basic attack, interesting enough, has an effect that gives the lowest HP hero some all damage reduction, and it goes up to 10% if I saw that correctly. There are 2 more effects that are more interesting for PvP. We're going to check them out. Still, we see there are still debuffs. That's a 50% chance. So, like, once she has like 3 stacks of Newborn Radiance, it goes to like 1.5 removed debuffs. So, obviously, in this situation where we already see like 4 different ones on the screen, in this case we had none. We just had the damage over time effect, which apparently she didn't remove, which is also unlikely. I don't know if she even can remove that. If that even counts as a debuff. The damage over time effect, obviously. And now we have the damage reduction there. We still had 1 left. And she was slower, which can happen. Shouldn't happen. And probably we could adjust that a little bit, make it a little bit better. Would be interesting to see if she could remove that full stack. Doesn't seem to remove the damage over time effects. Those seem to always stick. But like, if we take a look at the other stuff, it's kind of difficult to assess right here. So let's see. She just keeps attacking. We have 3 there. We have 2 there. And there everything seems to have gone away. And all the ones that we could see on LFA are gone too. So that's not bad. That's really not bad. If we had adjusted the speed a little better, maybe that could have had like a chance. Basic attack obviously not really doing it for us. We don't really get buffs on there. If we had the Destiny transition fully leveled up to Destiny rank 16, we could have had a valuable 30% attack buff for LFA, which really isn't bad. Yeah, now we see it that really a lot of stuff gets cleaned away. For SQH, there was like 1 more remaining. 3 there. Oh, now we get the basic, of course. I just wanted to check it out. My god. Okay. Really? Yeah, now we are at the high level. There's still 1. So it's not like the super way to remove absolutely everything. I think for that they even stick us with a little bit too many attribute reductions. I think for that it's a little bit too much overall. But it's doing a good job. It's doing a good job of just like getting all of the rest, all of this stuff away. And it's interesting because it allows us to kind of remove attribute reductions we have on our hero without really relying on Purify. That was already the interesting part for the Destiny rank 6 ability. We can skip the rest of this, I reckon. Probably damage won't be too great, no. Obviously, this is not set up for damage. We have a third of our SP missing, but then, I mean, it's not too bad for such an attempt. That was already the interesting part of like really the Vesa Destiny rank 6 ability, because we used that to, for some time, not really now anymore, but for some time it was like the strategy to just have Vesa run before LFA in a Star Expedition. Because you have this 1 Star Expedition attack debuff that LFA can't really purify because it gets applied to him after his purify happens. So thus he always sticks it around for his attack, no matter how often he purifies it. What you can obviously do is you can have an Vesa run before the LFA, attack before the LFA, and then just use this ability to get rid of the debuff. And it removes just 1 debuff though, so it's kind of unreliable, which I think was part of the reason it just went away. I don't know if it was necessarily interesting now, but thinking about it now, if you have the treasure, if you have all this potential for debuff removal, and if you struggle maybe with survivability a little bit, could be a chance to kind of have the Vesa on the team. Maybe this is good enough for Star Expedition. I would say it's certainly interesting. So for PvE, I would say she got a whole lot better, and that is definitely a giant leap forward and could bring her back into some metas. I could see her be very interesting for some Void Boss fights. I could see her be very interesting for some special fights like the Stellar Challenge maybe even. And for that she does a very, very good job. Going back to our treasures, we already talked a little bit about PvP, and while the pink treasure here is certainly to an extent interesting for PvP, removing debuffs there is obviously strong as well and kind of limits the damage of heroes as the likes of Alikita or DGN. So this is already quite good for that. The Silence Gag Order, as I said, kind of worthless. But then we have other ones too. We have the basic attack, which provides a very, very, well, small, we could say, attack buff and all damage reduction buff, but all damage reduction is still kind of valuable, but this is not the saving grace for Vesa. Then we have this one. Beginning of each round restores HP for 3 allies with the lowest HP by 20% of lost HP, so instant HP restoration without really the need to attack, which is good. 60% chance to inflict elemental mark on the enemy with the lowest HP for 6 rounds, which enhances the damage they take by 8%. This last part, I mean, it's kind of nice. It is a mark, so it's something extra that they would need to purify. 6 rounds is also a very long time, so not bad if you have like a survivability team and you dragged out the fight a little bit, kind of stacking that on the enemies, pretty good actually. It's just not something many people talked about it for Star Expedition or Flame Shrine, and it's not really going to happen there because we use Heart Watcher, and Heart Watcher that would just add up with the Heart Watcher debuff. So the Heart Watcher debuff being that much bigger though than this 15% damage increase would make it so that this has very low value. So really for this one we are looking at some small damage increase for longer fights, and we are looking at HP restoration. And then the last part, which is really the interesting one for PvP that we are going to check out today. When the battle starts or self-enters battle, gains 3 layers of Vision of Sanctity. Whenever an ally's HP is lower than 50%, consumes 1 layer of Vision of Sanctity, restore the ally's HP to 70%, increase their precision by 35% and attack by 12% for 3 rounds. When self dies, restores all allies' HP by 22% of max HP and increase their all damage reduction by 7% for 3 rounds. And the comparison we want to do today is mainly between Vesa and Madeleine. Those are the two we want to compare. We checked out Madeleine a little bit already. There's one ability that I particularly like now for my fights, and that is actually this one. Oh wait, no, it's actually the last one. This one actually grants her and the backline allies a pretty substantial shield, equal to 40% of the max HP, and we get a 15% control immunity increase. This is really nice. It gives me kind of the Fiona vibes that we had when Fiona was released. She was the first hero that initially gave all of you heroes a shield. Madeleine is very similar to that, and that is very, very cool and actually very, very nice. And thus I kind of want to compare her with Vesa in this situation. So what I did is I just set up a PvP team, mainly focusing on LDA damage. Interesting fun fact, LDA, active skill will damage LDA. It won't damage the shield he has. It will just damage himself directly through the shield, so he can still absolutely destroy his HP to activate all his on-death abilities, and then I like his revive, so you could still run him with Nova, which is just currently in use, so I can't really put that on him, but it doesn't matter. Right now, by the way, fun fact, I was thinking a little bit about using him as my next Enable Infusion hero and getting like the upgraded Balance Strike on him. I thought that would be kind of crazy, wouldn't it? Could be fun. We are going to take a look at it. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, so the theory is basically you have Madeleine right there. Madeleine will grant herself and the backline allies a shield, giving basically everybody but LDA a shield. Then we get some extra shields. Then we have the heroes that get the crit immunity from Vesa, which is also damage over time reduction. So we overall get a very tanky team for everybody really but the LDA. So the rest of the team should be fairly tanky. The LDA shouldn't be. This team has a little bit of a problem with TPP. We are not really immune against that. And sadly, 15% control immunity in today's meta is not really enough to do that. But you can see, like initially, we have the huge shield on the back row. We by far don't have that much of a huge shield on the LDA. but you are immediately brought into a position where you have a ton of HP, or effective HP, we should say. Pretty good heal coming there from the Homes Young. So for the start of the game, despite being like obviously in a bad position, we are set here and we are being attacked by the TBB, basically full CC there, which we probably, I mean, we could counter with an LBRM. We see the big difference between the slot 1 hero, which is the LDA, and the rest of the team, so that it kind of brings us in a very good position. Also, this is not a video about Madeleine being great, this is actually a video about Vesa, and I want you guys to take a look at what she does so far. It's not a lot. And sadly, this comes from her being required to attack, essentially. Most of her skills are based around her attacking. The debuff removal is obviously, then we have the basic attack, which provides us with all damage reduction. That all is based on attacking. In this situation, we had the happy scenario where we really didn't get to use our ability to give us HP back a lot. The enemy didn't really attack. The nice part is, well, he can't really crit us. At least not on the Vesa and potentially on up to 2 other heroes. You really don't want to have that on your LDA though, by the way. That is kind of weird if you have that. So for that, it's kind of nice to have her. But like a lot of her heal, a lot of her support, a lot of her buffs and everything is in her actor skill and maybe also in her basic. So that not being able to activate while she's obviously CC'd is kind of tough. So I would say for PvP, at least from the shield giving perspective, it's a big disadvantage not being able to really give those shields out without being able to attack. HHA can provide shields without attacking. Madeleine can provide shields without attacking, and that's a huge advantage if you go into PvP. And thus, you kind of see situations where, well, she doesn't really seem to do anything. And I have to say, quite sadly, I tested this against Bravestar, who has like a very, very strong TBB, which we are going to see in a second. I didn't really notice her HP restoration from the treasure. You can judge that for yourself. I mean, there, I think she heals the Wukong and the Madeleine, actually. I think that is actually what she does, that if you run those two with her, that those get immediately healed to full life. And I don't know if that is value, guys. I don't know if that's value. Because right now, I mean, we see the PDE, and she doesn't really seem to be healed to full life. So that didn't really work out. Now our shields are gone. Maybe we get to see an active skill there from the Ferrocking Vesa. Would be interesting. Okay. I mean, it's still pretty decent shield. So if she actives, we should say if, not when, it is quite good. Keep also in mind, we don't really run Star Souls right now. So no Nova shenanigans, no Spectre. I think we do have the Tentacle Star Soul. So us losing this fight should be fairly clear because, well, the power of Nova, obviously. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think it's a big disadvantage that this Vision of Sanctity buff gets apparently eaten up by Wukong and Madeleine here. I don't know if that is necessarily what you would want. Not running them, on the other hand, also kind of bad. You would want to run them. You would want to run them, so I don't know if this really works out. Poor LDA not really getting to attack at all. So yeah, we obviously lose this fight. And Vesa can't really change that. But this is just like a thing that I noticed. And really you lose out on the value of Ferrocking Vesa. So not being able to really play Vesa with Wukong and Madeleine just because you will lose the Vision of Sanctity stuff and will lose this effect, I don't know. I mean, you could in theory still use it and kind of do a different approach to it. Because, I mean, it restores the LSHP to 70%, yes. That probably being boosted by effect of being healed and heal effect, where we have like a ton of buffs, so that is probably why it jumped up to full HP. But we also increase precision and attack. So that shouldn't be too bad. Maybe we can try that again. Keep an eye out for these buffs. Do a little bit of an experiment here. We need very slow attack speed though. Oh, wait. Okay. That's a precision buff, definitely. That's also precision buff. Yeah, that seems to fit. That seems to fit. So we lose immediately 2 buffs there. And then obviously, I mean, it doesn't really help us that we run LDA. Yeah, thinking about that now. LDA probably wasn't a wise choice to combine with her Vision of Sanctity. This seems like a little bit of a better fight, though. It didn't get immediately destroyed by TVB. He's already an Unbending Will. Okay. Starkham Storm's Young coming out. Can we see? Oh, we see the LFA. That's not good. That's not good. And the shields didn't really hold a long time. I have to say it. Like, even though they seem massive at the start, and then like Vesa coming up, and Vesa was really the first healer where you really said, yo, that's something. That's really heal that fills up HP bars again. And she can still do that. Which is surprising, honestly. Which is really surprising. But the shields, I don't know. I feel like the shields no longer provide the same tankiness they used to be. If you are a seasoned player, like somebody that played during the times of like HHA, when he was live, where it really was like 10 turns of HP bars not moving, of basically not much stuff happening, I don't feel like shields that are essentially the full bar, so the maximum shield capacity, they don't really feel like that anymore. They just like go away very, very fast. And I'm not too sure if Vesa can ever make like a comeback at that. There is some combination potential now. You can instantly essentially heal up a hero with that. You can instantly provide some buffs to a hero with that. But is that enough? You tell me your opinion about that down in the comments. For me, no, probably not. Probably not, honestly. Probably not good enough to actually bring her back into PvP, despite me liking her. So that being said, definitely check out the link in the description. There's the Discord link to SG Hub. That will save you a ton of money. Right now, you can get 10,000 Starry Gems for 100 USD. Absolutely great compared to the in-game prices where you get fourth of that amount of Starry Gems. So save some money, go through SG Hub, will definitely help you progress in the game, and support me at the same time. And other than that, hit that subscribe button for 2026. Maybe we can hit 10,000 subscribers on this channel in 2026. Should be possible, would be great. So make a start, click that button. Check if you have clicked it. A lot of people always tell me, I thought I was subscribed, but then I noticed I'm not. Maybe you're one of those persons, we don't know. Let's make a good start into 2026 and hit the subscribe button. Other than that, I wish you a great start into this year, and we'll see us in the next one.